Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they feel me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher, I'm a rise up on my demons like the tide. Blood moon yellow in my eyes. Blood moon, white fang, light blue, my stains, night flame. Then we got into rose, yeah. Sun breath hit my wrist, blade fall like the mistake. Cares like a peak, yeah. Malachite, turn a tarnish to a gray side, yeah. Kiss a Dutch, but I miss the way it tastes like, yeah. Through the frenzy and the flame, I keep the honor beside me. This faith will abide me, we're burning the tree. Sharpen all the edges that I hide, I'm a liar. See my body licking up the flames from the fire. They can never kill me, so they feel me even tighter. Who remains without 40 in the strength? I'm a fighter, 50 in the faith. Take me higher, I'm a rise up on my demons like a tide. Blood moon yellow in my eyes. War horse in the crypt, a nightmare, great sword on my hip, in my heart. I'm a rise up on my demons like the tide. Blood moon yellow in my eyes. Don't wish for walls to talk. They scream until I left the room. Blood writing on the walls tells me I'm born inside a tomb. I don't cower, I just power back.
Wow, we found ourselves in a new set, you guys. This is kind of crazy.
Wow, look at all this stuff.
This is amazing. But hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to the brand new show that we got going on around here. We are the reformed Dual Dynasty crew. We are here to review WWE Monday Night Raw and WWE Friday Night Smackdown. So, as we have been teasing for the last couple of weeks, the WWE shows are combined into one. And then this Tuesday, you'll be seeing a mega review of all the AEW shows. It's about to get chaotic. But we are here to review WWE, specifically this lovely morning. I am your lead anchor host, just trying not to go mad with insanity, person with a brain and a mouth, Mikey.
You got insanity going on now? Or is insanity creeping in? What happened?
I don't know. I think that too many sacrifices to our Cthulhu god is like,
man, that
backfiring.
Cthulhu algorithm god, nothing appeases that guy. Jesus.
No, but I am also joined with me this morning by the professor, who is going to have an interesting time. Be like, yeah, I kind of watched the Raw, not really, but we're going to talk about it.
I respect the Raw. Oh, I got to be careful. Raw's great.
You should be very careful. That's a superior show.
Sure. Is it though?
Absolutely is.
Depends on why you're watching what you're watching. I like promos too. Promos are great.
There is one reason why Raw is superior. Mommy.
I mean, you can't argue with that.
You're not wrong. If I had to pick them, if it was on a scale, yes, Mommy tips it. absolutely. But
all the way.
I don't know.
And then, of course, this is also going to be interesting, too, because Senior Luchadont is going to be here for Raw. And then, I haven't been able to contact Minnie in the last couple of weeks. So he said he was going to be here for the SmackDown portion, but I'm not entirely
Better not
sure.
be. You may or may not be locked in a basement again.
Is that just what you do? You wake up, you lock him in a basement when he's not looking?
Well, when he says he likes Kenny Omega, he gets locked in the basement.
Is that your life together? Like he just walks up to you and goes, "I like Kenny Omega," and then you throw him in a basement.
Well,
Like,
he was watching the Forbidden Door Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay match from a couple years ago. And I was like, yeah, look at this piece of shit. So I hit him over the head with the brick and locked him in the basement.
Bracement?
Yeah, bracement. Apparently,
That was a very good E40 impression you just had. I went a brick and block him in the bracement. That's fine. You two are the Biconics odd couple. I would love to see you two just do a sitcom thing. It'd be fantastic.
I love it. But before we get started, I know
I'm the superior luchador.
That's why it's funny. It's you just putting Minnie through tables and Minnie crying about it. It'd be fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Does he cry a lot?
No, he normally puts me through tables. I normally just hit him over the head when he's not looking.
Oh, you cry a lot. Do you cry, Luchador?
We don't want to talk about it.
Sorry, Mikey. Go.
Well, before we get started with our review, it has been a couple of weeks since Senior Luchadont has had the ability to get on camera and express his feelings. And last time we left off...
Okay, no. Listen up. Now, while you're talking about this, I'm taking my mic off the stand. El Brutador, listen to me. Yeah, screw to you, El Brutador. Screw this review. You're out here talking shit to me in Spanish? I don't even know Spanish. It doesn't matter. I'm the superior lucha. I don't even care if I can't speak Spanish. I'm so lucha, I make Nacho Libre cry. The ego spirit he got it from me. Yeah, you heard it. If you want to go there, we'll go there, brother.
I was about to say, I was going to let him have the floor to speak, but, we just ran with it. It was
you don't have to let him have anything. He just goes, take it.
So,
even though we're enemies, just quote Minnie because I wanted to.
This show has gone off the rails really quickly, and I absolutely love it. These are going to be fun reviews to do on Sundays, but we are here to review the Monday, July 29th episode of Monday Night Raw and the Friday, August 2nd episode of Friday Night SmackDown. Do they call it Friday Night SmackDown? So whatever, it just makes it easier to differentiate the days and the brands. So with this new show, this is a new format that we are testing out, and this is how the WWE and AEW shows are going to be. This one, I say, is less chaotic, but I mean, you saw how this started. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to condense 5 hours worth of wrestling into about an hour. So we are going to focus on the big things, and there may or may not be some sprinklings of SummerSlam involved into this because that was last night. Yeah. So if you've not seen SummerSlam, this is your spoiler warning. Also, before we get started, just, to clarify, remember, be respectful in the comments. We're going to talk a lot of things that happened. We might say some things you may not agree with, and that's okay. Just don't be a turd when responding to said things.
Can we all agree that the Cleveland crowd was not great for the go home show?
For real.
And then carried that into SummerSlam. And this
is
a greater.
The transition to the screen like genuinely made me jump because it was so abrupt. You remembered, I was like, oh shit. Sorry. Yeah, the Cleveland crowd sucked.
And I was talking to Andrew.
Which makes sense because y'all sports teams are terrible.
Another host that we have here, Andrew, and I were talking about this thing too. It's turning into these big events. People show up, but they don't know anything, like a Super Bowl or World Series or whatever. They're not even fans of the team or the product, or like half of them are and half of them aren't. So they don't know what they're looking at. And we'll talk about this tomorrow in the review, but you see this here in SmackDown when we get to the SmackDown portion. But like, there's these moments where it's like, that's a huge deal. Nothing. It's like, what are you doing? But we'll still black out things when we're flipping people off or a sign's inappropriate. But the crowd itself, like, I don't know, man. It's such a weird. I don't know.
It was really weird. All right. So let us begin. We're going to start off with Monday Night Raw because we're going to condense 3 hours into probably 20 minutes.
Is it though?
So okay,
Do we need a feud now too? Like, I'm already feuding with El Butador and Minnie. I'll throw you in there too.
I'm just asking you questions.
Apparently, I'm also feuding with JVL because Minnie wrote this shit.
I didn't poke you. I just asked the questions,
It
man.
is.
so
It is.
okay.
They have Rhea Ripley and the Wyatt Six. All the SmackDown got is the fucking weekday.
We ooh.
The Timu
Ooh.
weekday? Yeah.
We got the weekday, and then
they.
they got we have Homelander at home.
We
But,
got
like-
Homelander.
I got a 2-hour show with 40 minutes of promos. You got a 3-hour show with 2 hours of promo.
So okay, so let's pump the brakes really quick. So let's establish some rules within the host because
I'm just I didn't break any rules.
I'm just kidding. No, so here's the thing. Senior Luchadon, I tend to agree with you most of the time as your Raw co-host, but let's be honest here. Usually the go-home shows before the pay-per-views on Raw tend to range from pretty good to okay at best.
I'm gonna agree. The only real important thing that even happened on this Raw was the Wyatt Six stuff.
Okay, so let's start with some good stuff on Raw.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what took up the most of the show later. So we're going to go a little bit out of order, but let's talk about some good stuff that happened on Monday Night Raw, which is perpetuating feuds, even though they're in the beginning stages for this. And let's talk about this feud that is happening with the Wyatt Six and the Alpha Academy 2.0 crew. So if you haven't been following our Raw reviews or haven't been catching up with Monday Night Raw, Wyatt Six made their debut about a month or two ago. We've been getting these tapes of some of the members delivered to Michael Cole and Pat McAfee over the last couple weeks. If you haven't seen the Eric Redbeard one, go watch that. That one made me cry like a little baby because of how heartfelt it was, and it hurt my soul because you can feel the hurt that was going on. But in this particular episode, we have, this all stems out with a match between Otis and Akira Tozawa taking on the Creed brothers. This was a match that went through one commercial break. Spoiler alert, the Creed brothers win as they should. Poor Otis and Akira Tozawa, they can't catch a break and win.
The crazy thing is Otis took the pin.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Otis took the pin in all of this, because I'm normally used to seeing Akira Tozawa get pinned left and right, but no, Otis got pinned in this match. Makes me super sad. But that's not the important part, because then afterwards, to add insult to injury, Chad Gable comes in, puts, Otis in an ankle lock, and then the Wyatt Six just appear out of nowhere and attack Chad Gable.
Don't forget, Maxine Dupree slapped the shit out of him.
That part too. We love Maxine. You go, girl. Then the lights go down. The Creeds are ready outside of the ring with chairs to fight. Chad Gable's in the ring. We have the Wyatt Six, or at least we have the Wyatt Six creep into the ring. And we get the unmasking. So we have Bo Dallas, Eric Rowan, and Joe Gacy standing in this ring.
No, it wasn't. It was
Dexter.
Dexter. Indy.
You're right.
Indy, we gotta talk about your man's. Why does he look so different?
Boy has cornrows and everything. It is
There's
wild.
dreads, dude. Those are huge. Like last time we saw him, that I remember was at Stand Up Deliver 2 years ago when he helped Indy get up the ladder, and he had like a whole crew cut. Now he got Booker T level dreads.
Really?
Yeah,
He's got long blonde dreads. Like, it is wild out here.
he looks good.
When I was a kid, that's all the punk bands I listened to. They all had dreads in the early 90s. So I used to go to my
literally
mom
looks like
like,
he
I
walked
want
out
dreads, and she would not let me do
Dexter
it.
Loomis literally
No,
walked out a
yeah.
Korn video. Like, literally.
Really? He had the cool late 90s dreads?
Yeah.
Just look at dude, he generally looks really good. Exactly. But they're blonde instead
That's
of
the
dark.
vibe
but-
that the Wyatt Six are giving.
I
Dude,
love that
it's-
1998 dreads. I'll go look at that.
Yeah, and I was genuinely like, damn. But yeah, so the crazy thing is they're not even saving the debut for the Wyatt Six for I thought they're gonna their first match was gonna be like SummerSlam or something like that. No, they're wrestling on Raw next week.
I thought we were going to get a hint of them at the SummerSlam, which we'll talk about in another review, because all week leading up to SmackDown and social medias was filled with the Wyatt Six stuff. But I guess they said no.
So, this is earlier in the show. Chad Gable gets attacked by these members of the Wyatt Six. We get another VHS tape of Creasy Dexter Loomis yelling "run" at the end of it. which then has Chad and the Creeds go backstage with Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce himself. Yes, that is his name on the Monday Night Raw show. Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce. And we get a match between Alpha Academy 2.0 and Wyatt 6 next week on Raw, and I'm here for it. So that is good. We don't have to wait long for wrestling, so this should be interesting. I cannot wait. So, Senior Luchador, I'm going to go to you first. How do we feel? I mean, we get the in-ring debut of the Wyatt 6 next week, so how do we feel about that?
I'm excited as shit for it. I just thought they were going to wait for a PLE to do it, but they're just going to do it on Raw, and I'm here for it. So I'm ready, crazy for what kind of random cinematic bullshit they're going to pull off in this match. All the fog machines ever. And I'm hoping somebody gets a fireball thrown in their face.
I think that random cinematic bullshit should be a category in every film festival throughout the country. Just
absolutely.
And the winner for the most cinematic bullshit goes to
the Wyatt 6. This is a 5-year running category. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Mikey. Go get it.
Ant-Man and Quantumania.
I love it. Well, Professor, so even though you mostly focus on the SmackDown here, you've been keeping up with the Wyatt 6. So how do you think their presentation has gone so far? And then, just your personal thoughts and opinions on what we've been getting from them.
Yeah. So I came late to the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt stuff because I was watching the tail end of their work, obviously, by the time that I started wrestling and reviewing here and other stuff like that. I love the spooky stuff. I don't think it's done enough, and a lot of the folks doing it don't do it well. What I do appreciate is they pumped the brakes, obviously, with Bray's passing, and they didn't rush anything. They let us all sit on it for a long time, and they accumulated all the pieces they needed to do this successfully. They slowed this roll down. They got everyone time to train. I saw some of the Nikki Cross angle that was making the headlines of sort of her being dazed and looking out there and then getting eliminated and then turning back into what she's become, which is fantastic. I love it. I think it's fun. That is the one reason I want to watch Raw, is to see what they're doing, because we don't see it on the SmackDown. So I was really hopeful that we would see something of it at the SummerSlam. And there's a few faces in there I know from other promotions and other stuff they've done here and things like that. So for me, connecting the dots has been really cool the last week or so.
It definitely has been fun. So we move on from everything that is happening with Alpha Academy 2.0 and the Wyatt 6 to talk about some smaller kind of good things that are happening. Is that we are getting feuds and stories that do not revolve around championships. I'm specifically talking about Sheamus and Pete Dunne are fighting now, which is fantastic because Pete Dunne is costing Sheamus matches.
The shillelagh, I haven't seen that forever.
Yeah, Pete Dunne hitting Sheamus with the shillelagh in his match against Big Bronson Reed was fantastic.
And Bronson Reed won a fucking match.
Bronson Reed won something?
That's the other thing that I was going to say. Big Bronson Reed actually won a match.
Good for him.
So there's that little story, and then even though I complain about it, we are getting the continuation of the Final Testament trying to recruit Xavier Woods into their little faction.
Who cares about that shit?
Unless
Big E comes back, nobody really cares about that.
Yeah, they should have stopped this feud, but they're continuing to do so. And Kofi,
I will say, Karrion Kross, like that line about Kofi Kingston was fire as fuck. Saying that Kofi should have retired after he lost the belt in 6 seconds to Brock Lesnar. That line was brutal as shit.
Wow.
But other than that, nobody really cares because Big E's not back.
I haven't been watching the Raw. Are they letting Karrion Kross be more like Karrion Kross? Like more fun and animated?
He's less generic wrestler 34.
Is he changed? He's not Cold War stereotype?
Yeah, he's kind of just doing the thing where he's just like beating the fuck out of Kofi and Xavier Woods like all the time. That's all he's doing.
I like Xavier Woods a lot. Maybe Raw does get the edge because Xavier Woods makes he's cool as hell too. But he's getting his own show on the WWE brand on Peacock, so he gets to host a video game thing
with him and it seems Ray, and then also Zelina Vega. You know what? Speaking of Zelina Vega, let's talk about this because we're also developing a women's feud between a couple of different folks in all of this. We have, Zelina is currently also feuding with Team Scissor Kick is what we're going to call them for monetary purposes.
It's better than the name that I gave them.
Yes, we're not going to mention that on this podcast because we're going to get demonetized. But
no, we're 20 minutes in. We're fine.
So Zelina is currently feeling the ramifications of getting herself involved with this whole entire feud that involves Team Scissor Kick, which is Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark. Also, while they're also feuding simultaneously with Lyra Valkyria, Kaden Carter, and Katana Chance. So Zelina gets jumped on Raw, and Shayna Baszler just decimates poor little Zelina in this backstage segment, which I was just like, I'm kind of here for this. If that means Zelina Vega is going to get to do something fun. Hopefully that means anything. But
right.
What I loved about this little segment too is because for the longest time, my biggest issue with both Raw and SmackDown is that if someone talks smack or, is being interviewed, it's like 50-50 if we get something, if it makes sense for them to get jumped. And Zelina got caught talking smack. I love that Zelina doubled down on it and then she paid the price for it. Which, I was like, continuity is what I want.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time you called him Team Scissor Kick, I've winked and I realized y'all can't see my eyes.
Yeah, because you're wearing a mask. You forgot you're wearing a mask?
No, I just I'm just barely waking up.
Oh my goodness. So Zelina's getting involved in this. Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe beat Lyra, Kaden, and Katana. But it seems now we're going to have a faction on faction feud because Team Scissor Kick is going to be it's going to be feuding with Damage Control. So, listen, I'm happy to see Damage Control back on my screen because I have missed their presence. I'm hoping this leads to intensity between these 6 women. Like, I want to see them fight.
I was going to ask about this. My son was asking me yesterday, where's Damage Control? Where's Damage Control? And I said, I think they're on Raw, but I don't know where they are. So that's good to know.
I know that they were heavily used during the Tokyo shows the last 2 weeks. So now that the house show circuit is over, which, by the way, I need WWE to release that match between Bayley defending her title against Japanese legend Meiko Satomura. Like,
I heard more about that than I did Raw.
Honestly,
like someone was sending clips and photos, and like there's only 3 or 4 second shots of it, and I'm like, that looks amazing. What is this? But
it is fantastic for sure. But Damage Control, after the 6-woman tag team match in which Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe win, they clear the ring out, and Dakota Kai challenges Shayna? Yeah, hold up. No, Dakota challenges. Dakota Kai challenges Sonya next week to a match, and I'm like, okay, hopefully this is gonna be interesting. All right, so we covered all the smaller stuff. There was a bunch of promos for all the participants that would be in SummerSlam, but let's talk about the crux of this episode throughout the whole entire show, and we got Judgment Day shenanigans. Because they were all over the place this whole entire show. So I'm just going to give a timeline of everything that transpired. The Judgment Day Clubhouse got destroyed by Liv Morgan because, she's gone full. If you can't love me, then nobody will. After what happened last week with Dominic cursing her out in Spanish, which, by the way, I loved my white friends be like, bro, what did she say? I was like, you do not want to know. He cursed at her in Spanish, called her a B word, like all the good stuff. But
I gotta look that up. I usually know all the choice words. Let me go look this up.
It was fantastic, but the Clubhouse got ruined. And then, Finn Balor's like, look, we'll deal with this later, but we got some things that we still got to finish. We got to take care of Jey Uso. We got to take care of Sami Zayn for some odd reason because he got thrown into all of this after Sami and Jey came to each other's defense the last couple of weeks. We saw Rhea Ripley give this amazing promo for her match at SummerSlam. Liv Morgan's cinematic, I'm gonna burn all the pictures by the production truck, was fantastic. Jey Uso destroying Carlito and Carlito getting the apple spit out spot from the spear, which was fantastic. Sami Zayn and Jey fending off the Judgment Day and Braun Breaker at the same time. but it was just shenanigans all around, which then leads us into the main event match, which was my favorite match of Raw. Finn Balor getting destroyed by Gunther, but it was still a good match. I was like, this is the closest to black and gold Finn Balor I have seen in a while. Like, Finn looked awesome in this match, and Gunther killed him. If anybody saw Finn's Instagram after the match, his chest is all red. It looks destroyed.
That's what I was just going to say. These last 2 weeks with chops across the promotions, they're all trying to outdo each other, right? One promotion had a chop fest, which ended in blood. And then another chop fest on Monday, which I saw last night. And then we got a little bit of kind of a scary one on the Smackdown, which we'll talk about. And then SummerSlam was like, what is happening with these chops?
They're just trying to figure out, be like, all right, how many people can Gunther destroy?
Remember, that's like 56% of Gunther's offense is just him smacking the fuck out of your chest.
Well, but it still is terrifying.
It is.
The other 44% of his offense is him powerbombing you or just straight up kicking you in the face.
That's also very true.
I mean, that's fair.
He's going to chop you, kick you, or powerbomb you. Or if he's feeling fancy, he'll dive off the top rope too, occasionally. Which watching Gunther do frog splashes is amazing.
I can't find Dom going full Spanish on Liv Morgan. I'll look for it later.
We'll send you all the good stuff. But yeah, Judgment Day shenanigans up across the show, which leads Gunther beating Finn and Damian brawling with Gunther as Monday Night Raw went off the air.
Right.
Which is great. Yeah.
Hold on. Manny's out of the basement.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
well,
no.
Be kind to him, though. Don't. Oh, man.
So while that's going on, too, the last thing I will say is that Seth Rollins has, on this episode, felt like a random piece that did not need to be there. And we'll talk about that more on the SummerSlam review tomorrow, because I feel like he has been the most out of place in this Drew and CM Punk feud. And, he kicked off the show where the two went back and forth with promos. And he's like, I'm here to give you the rules, but I didn't give you any rules. I just let you all talk.
Yeah, I get it. Like, oh,
damn.
Did you just, hey.
Hi.
Hey, sorry, I had to super kick him.
That's what that noise was.
By slapping your thigh.
Yeah.
I love it.
What did I miss?
He talks a lot of shit about Kenny Omega.
I think he's a piece of shit. I know.
Yeah, God.
Well, he's a lucha. No, not the lucha do.
All the time. I agree. I think Seth Rollins is kind of stuck in "why are you using me? Why am I here?" sort of place. I get the feeling that Seth thought he was going to have like a year off, and he got like 2 months off.
He did not.
And then kind of got shoved into like, hey, by the way, we got to do this now thing. They're obviously playing on the actual heat between the three of them, which I've tried to get a breakdown of. I know the old school Seth Rollins, CM Punk stuff, but I thought a lot of that was squashed. But then the moment CM Punk came back, they kind of ramped that up on purpose and dove back into it. So now I'm not sure what's kayfabe anger, not or what. Seth looked a little more in place when he got to SummerSlam, but I have heard from y'all and from other folks watching that Seth is just sort of like that guy in the background right now, which is unfortunate, but it's still Seth, so I'll watch him.
I mean, listen, we'll talk about his outfit choice at SummerSlam tomorrow, because I was sir, did you he replaced the black stripes with lace? Like, I mean, if that's not allyship, I don't know what that is.
It was Beetlejuice by Prada. Like, it was gorgeous.
It was so good. But we're going to leave the land of Monday Night Raw.
Prada.
He is. He was literally Beetlejuice last night, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But we're going to leave the land of Monday Night Raw, and we're going to fast forward into the week, because now we are in the Friday Night Smackdown, part of town.
Smackdown.
Smackdown.
So
come to the soap opera that is Smackdown.
Let's be honest. Yes, exactly. So here we are in the Smackdown land, and honestly, again, it's not fair to compare a 3-hour go-home show to a 2-hour go-home show.
Was he going on about Raw being a superior show again?
I I have no comment because I review both and I like them equally. I'm playing Switzerland here. I'm not picking sides.
Wait, what'd you just say? What are you talking about?
Was Luchadome going on about how Raw's superior again?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely he was.
Piece of shit.
He's crying behind the masks and he thinks we can't see his eyes. He's crying the whole time.
He's crying right now. He's still like slowly crawling away after the super kick.
You're gonna have to go.
I can't get my leg to hit him in the chin, so I absolutely kicked him in the nuts. But he doesn't.
You can only. That's as high as you could raise your leg.
I almost fell. So I only was able to get a certain height before because I was by my chair.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot. I just couldn't get. I was kind of in a weird spot, so I couldn't get my leg up high.
Pictured you like a tiny hobbit going meh, like super kicking some dude.
No, I have no flexibility.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Sorry.
So, all right.
Off the rails again. Sorry.
It's okay. I love the chaos. I'm here for it. It's been a bit.
It's been a while.
We're gonna do the same thing that we did for Raw because I grouped my notes here. But honestly, I dug SmackDown except for one particular match, and we'll talk about that when we get to that section. But I enjoyed.
I enjoyed this too. I thought this was a really solid go home show. They're not great at go home shows this year. This one was finally like, all right, we're decent. Going somewhere.
Yes,
it was good. There's just like one thing I just did not agree with because I liked the people too much, so I didn't feel like they got done dirty. But
we will talk about that.
I have a feeling we're all on the same page for that.
But I agree with the decision. I just like fuck.
Yeah,
it hurts a little bit.
This crowd was fine. I think this I'm only comparing it to the PLE crowd, which I'm just saying these were the folks that couldn't get tickets for the next night. So they were just excited to be here. So they followed most of the show. The second half of the show, they fell asleep. And I was like, what are you doing? I thought the women's tag match got done dirty. Like they were silent. And I was like, are you guys not seeing this?
It's Cleveland. There's a reason why the Browns suck.
Yeah, it's bad.
Why they hired Deshaun Watson to be their fucking quarterback.
Ooh, that's awful. Yeah. No, Cleveland, they don't get a pass as a sports team. Sorry, Mikey, go, Mikey, go, Mikey.
No, it's okay because I totally agree with you because I have beef with this crowd from this episode of SmackDown. Good. I was like, y'all were into it like the first 30 minutes, and then everything else was just like, no, we're quiet.
See, John is mad. He's already smacking his desk and shit. Hulk out.
As long as he doesn't turn green, we're good.
No, he's busting out. He's bringing out the Bjorn Kringleson.
No!
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
Beautiful deep cut.
Over here with his mahogany desk.
This mahogany? Wow.
So,
Mikey, what's your? You have your notes. What are the important takeaways here in your head?
Good thing he took note because I fucking didn't.
I mean, I feel like that's the same sentence across all these. But all right, so we're gonna kind of break this down into 3 important parts. First, let's talk about the non-SummerSlam stuff for a little bit, and let's talk about the matches that we got that did not relate to SummerSlam-ish. The championship matches are going to be their own separate category. So we're just going to talk about the 2 matches that we got that were not the championship matches. So we'll start with the Santos and Apollo Crews. I mean, it was like a quick 3-minute match. Santos got a win. Sure. Fine. Like
it was there.
Apollo
Crews is being on TV. This is good.
Yeah. I like Crews and Corbin. I think that's a fine combination. It's just sort of not what you would expect, but they work great together. I didn't hate this. It felt like filler. We have some stuff we have to throw in there. I much preferred the match before this one, and I feel like that's on your list, so we'll talk about that when we get there.
Well, that's the second match that we're going to talk about non-SummerSlam stuff, and this was the better of those 2 matches because we got Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade number 2. Yeah. Can we make this a best of 7 series? Like, I need a best of 7 series with these 2, and this was they topped themselves than the first encounter. This one was fire.
So this is what, week 3, right? This is the 3rd match between the 3 of them? The 2 of them?
This is the second match between the 2 of them.
Okay. There's been so many promos for it. Right. I'm getting lost. This was great. Whereas the first one, when we talked about last time, I remember they were hesitating. Carmelo was having to catch up because he didn't realize how fast Andrade was. Like there was a little bit of that hitch in the giddy up. Not here. They were flying all over this. They got 2 commercial breaks. Like they were busting themselves.
This makes me think about when Andrade's first run in WWE, when he had those stellar matches against Rey Mysterio.
Sure.
Like,
Andrade's
bangers
destroyed Carmelo Hayes' chest.
Oh,
Like those are full handprint. I could identify you by your passport handprints on his chest. Bow, fingertips and all. Like that was brutal.
When's Carmelo going to start winning?
Say what?
When's Carmelo going to start winning?
Isn't that the NXT thing? They bring you up to lose for a year and then you win, unless you're Braun Breaker.
you know, if we get a best of 7 series, I think Carmelo will start. Let's just give this a best of 7 series. Let them both get 3-3, and then we have a blow off match somewhere, and then we can figure out what we want to do with them next.
This should be the next 10 years of SmackDown. There's always a Carmelo Hayes Andrade match every week. So, no matter what.
Well, it's like they're bringing back the new version of the SmackDown 7.
Oh, that's very true.
That's actually a very good point. I thought this was a great match. Not to go into all the details because we don't have a super lot of time, but this was fun. And normally I'm like, oh, it's them again. Okay, whatever. The promos, meh. But I would watch every week. I'd be like, oh, okay, we're doing this again? Perfect. Show me something else.
So those were the 2 non-SummerSlam matches that we got. So now before we get into the championship matches, the second set of things that I combined together was let's talk about the SummerSlam go home promos. Specifically, the one that opened the show between Cody and Solo, and then Logan Paul's homecoming celebration, because we'll talk. So let's start with Cody and Solo. So again, I have been saying this for multiple weeks that we've been getting the same thing from Solo, and by all intents and purposes too, Cody for this. But this was the one where they actually added the intensity that was needed for this. Solo basically once again double downing and calling out Roman Reigns and basically calling him trash. And telling Cody, hey, if you are a real champion, I got worried. Now that SummerSlam is over, I'm a little bit more happier with it. But as soon as Solo suggested, let's make this a Bloodline Rules match, I got PTSD from SummerSlam last year. When we had Bloodline Rules match, I was like,
still, this is a little bit of foreshadowing for tomorrow. They only ever used one weapon.
That is very true.
It's supposed to be this Extreme Rules kind of match. They don't do anything extreme.
Yeah, I agree. And I absolutely had the trauma dump of, oh God, don't do this again. And now we're going to get this walking through with camera thing, and which I hope they would do it better. But I was still like, oh God, they're going to botch that. What are they doing? I agree. They were kind of stuck in this holding pattern the last month or so, right? They're in between. We're too far away to talk about right now, and we're too close to the other event. So it's a tough sell for actors, and they were kind of stuck. I feel bad that creative was not supporting Solo with text and language. They were just kind of letting Solo go out there and riff, and it made him really weak the last 2 or 3 weeks in these promos. And it's even came off a little bit in those filmed ones where he wasn't the menacing. He wasn't coming off as I'm the street enforcer. He was coming off as I'm the weak one, which could have been their goal. It could have been what they wanted. I would think you want, Titan Kojira fighting as opposed to weaker, lesser tribal chief. I do agree that, him calling Roman weak gave it away for me. I was like, oh, we're not going to see Roman until Survivor Series. Oh, we're going to see him tomorrow. Well, okay. So they kind of played that. They could have played that a little better. It wasn't a super surprise. We all knew. And I'm wondering how they gave it away. If it was because appearances Roman was making, it's because, his father passed away and there were some comments about when are we going to see you again?
It was rude for me because I saw it on Twitter that Roman was confirmed to be there. I was like, oh, thanks. That goes that surprise, I guess.
And if you want the kayfabe surprise thing, you got to do better. Or is that what gets eyeballs on the thing? Or now are you playing the casuals like we were just talking about? That's a conundrum. All that being said, this was the solid of all the go-home promos. I thought this was great.
Definitely. And if it wasn't said before, this is where they officially made the match at SummerSlam be Bloodline Rules match, surrounds the ring. You know how the story goes. So now, from going from this go home angle for SummerSlam to the other one we got, this time for our United States Championship, we have Logan Paul's Cleveland Homecoming celebration jig. So this is where I was like, okay, Cleveland, like you were very up and down for me. I'm still mad at you, but this is the moment that I needed you, and you gave it to me because Fox had to blur those middle fingers and, boos and cursing out Logan Paul. And I was just like, oh, this is the heel heat that I've been waiting for. Thank you, Cleveland, for bringing it to him.
Yeah. He's kind of had it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what?
Foxy was in a walking boot.
Oh, damn it.
I told you he hurt himself.
I just saw like Jacob Foxy was spotted in a walking boot, and I see the picture.
We'll talk about it tomorrow. I texted you all that moment, like, oh no, that was real. He went full. He did it just like his uncle. When Vader busted his knee and he started throwing stuff at the camera, same thing. I was glad that Cleveland didn't give him a pass. I was very nervous that Cleveland was going to be like, oh, look, hometown hero, let's go. I'm happy they hate him just as much as the rest of the country. And damn it, I've said it too many times. I respect Logan Paul for getting heat and getting more heat, knowing when to turn it up. And he's so good at making us hate him, and how he's made millions of dollars on that, I will never know. But he has. He has his fake dignitaries there, which is hysterical. He's kind of making fun of Cleveland and Cleveland sports about hanging a banner, which is kind of a funny nod to a lot of things in Cleveland. What was interesting is the pop for the superstar that came out right after was not what I was expecting. And the pop for what that superstar does after wasn't what I was expecting. And they all just it was very strange and muted, right? Like half this promo is very different than the other half this promo.
It was weird because I feel like Cleveland gave all their hate to Logan Paul that they didn't have enough to cheer for who came out. But we'll get into the second half of this.
They were spent. They were literally I have nothing left.
It was wild for sure. But Logan unveils his banner that has a picture of him. So I'm going to be honest. Like, if we're going to go with the angle that we've seen multiple times of like property being destroyed like this, you could tell this was very Microshop paint with the font and the neon pattern. It was, I was just like, where was the spray paint? Like, obviously you can't show it, but like my middle school brain was like, draw dicks on it. Like, what's happening? Like, draw devil horns on him. Like Sharpie.
They
like,
obviously
what's going on?
Printed the banner, right? It wasn't quite what that should have been. I think part of this too, and since so much of this is sponsored by Prime, and since Logan Paul is obviously in control of his own creative, he probably had the reins on this, and he probably had a hand in that. And they were gonna, hey, let's make it look like this. But in doing so, it looks like someone obviously photoshopped that. It kind of blows the kayfabe of the thing. It should have been sliced up. It could have been all kinds of other things that LA Knight does. I don't think LA Knight had any feedback into that banner. I will say, printing a banner like that's a $10,000 banner. Like, that's
Seriously.
Expensive as hell to get a banner that big printed like that with that resolution. That's fancy ass printers and
that's
all
dedication
that stuff.
to the bit. And okay, and we'll talk more about this during SummerSlam, but the build to this match that we're getting between LA Knight and Logan Paul has kind of been all over the place and been very one-sided in terms of certain things. Like, we literally started this because LA Knight broke into Logan Paul's house, and then we waited like a couple of weeks, and then, having LA pin Logan in the qualifier for Money in the Bank, then weeks, and they're like, hey, I pinned you. Let's have this match at SummerSlam. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's see what they're going to do. It's been really it's been weird. Yeah. Like, they kind of came to blows, but not really. It was just like, this has been a weird feud.
And
Didn't
this is
Logan cost LA Knight a chamber?
Yeah.
He did. That's also true.
Oh yeah.
That's what that was like the initial start for all this was
I think what they ran into, and we'll talk about this tomorrow in the other review, they pulled the trigger on this way too late. And they ran out of momentum, and they didn't know when it was going to start sputtering, and they thought that they could do any prestige and show about this with Logan Paul as long as they could, because that was their timeline. They needed to pull the trigger on this match for the title 3 months ago, 4 months ago. They kind of sat on it way too long, and now you have nowhere to go.
It should have been WrestleMania.
It should have absolutely been WrestleMania.
So now that I'm thinking about it, no, it wasn't Logan Paul that cost LA Knight. Because remember, the match that we got with LA Knight in WrestleMania, AJ cost LA Knight.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, because he flew off Australia just to cost somebody else.
He cost Randy. That's who it was. He cost
Randy. Which then led Kevin and Randy and Logan having that triple threat at WrestleMania, which was also good, by the way.
I thought the crowd got taken out of the second half of this promo, which is a shame because the second half of this, the camera shot following to the
so good.
LA Knight steals Logan Paul's Prime Mobile, which is a sentence I hate. I just said out loud. My God,
dare you capitalist swine!
How dare you? But the best part of this, I'll bring it back to the arts. The best part of this is Pretty Deadly getting ready to half sing their musical. Which, if we don't get a musical with Pretty Deadly by the end of the year, what a lost opportunity! I cannot wait.
Bring back those in the CM Punk ice cream bars.
Oh yes,
that's right. I kind of like. I love that LA Knight just commits crimes. I think
I know. I was like, he gets away with it too. Like he
yeah, they're kind of felonies. Yeah,
he's kind of like should be in jail right now, but it's okay because we think he's cool.
But yeah, and they're sort of. I'm not going to press charges. Crimes like I broke into my house, but fine.
Yeah, it's whatever. You look good in Tim's.
So, I think they could have tightened this up some. This promo did not need to run 13, 14 minutes. This ran way long. I think they could have really tightened up a chunk of this, but whatever. And the crowd was just sort of mad. I was like, aren't you excited? Look at all this cool stuff happening. And I guess not.
It's because it's
the crowd was more excited when later before the main event, like when Nia Jax gifted Tiffany Stratton the pink briefcase. Like, what was that? Was like, I was like, well, I knew we were getting a pink briefcase. Come to find out that sold out really quickly on WWEshop.com.
Of course it did. Gosh.
I love it.
Humans will buy anything.
Capitalism.
Yeah, like
my goodness.
Capitalism. But LA Knight does steal the Prime Mobile. I almost said Pimp Mobile, but that's totally different.
He's not the Godfather.
No. So he took the Prime Mobile, and we will talk about where it ended up, tomorrow. But let's talk about the crux of what happened on SmackDown. We had 2 championship matches, both for the tag team championships on SmackDown. Let's talk about the one that the potential of what we're getting afterwards has me intrigued, but I was disappointed by the way that we had this, and also the crowd made me mad about this. But let's talk about first with the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. We have... Well, I mean, they're officially known as the Unholy Union. I call them the Hex Girls, but we had Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defending their championships against 2/3 of Black Girl Magic, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill. And I was mad because this match was actually going pretty good. I was thoroughly enjoying this.
Yeah.
The crowd, I have beef with you here because y'all were quiet during this whole entire thing. Ugh, so mad.
That was incredible.
Once again, there's one answer for this. It's Cleveland.
Fair.
What a weird town. And I lived in Chicago. I met a lot of folks from Ohio. Even they were like, Cleveland's weird. Like they had no idea. The cool town in Ohio is not Cleveland. It's Cincinnati and a few other places where like they got real stuff going on. I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I'm not sure why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is there and not in New York, Seattle, San Francisco, or any other cool place. I don't know, man. I thought this match was great. Bianca Belair got more air off that rope jumping into the two of them than I have seen her get anywhere. I was legit worried, like, oh, she's going to miss them. Oh, she didn't. Oh, okay, great. I thought Jade looked super strong. There's a lot of really cool spots in here. The fascinating thing is what happened at the end, and I'm more confused, but I'm also happy for them because now they have something to do, but I wanted more out of this.
Okay.
Give the women more time. I wanted more out of this.
Yeah, because this clocked in like what 8-9 minutes probably.
If that, yeah, I'll take a look.
So while Professor is looking at that time, let me give the details as to what the Professor was alluding, because this match ends in a DQ because towards the finishing, as Bianca and Jade are getting ready to, head to the final sequence of what it seems like, we had a wild Blair Davenport come in and start attacking and the DQ. So technically Bianca and Jade win the match, but because it's a disqualification, they do not get the championships, and therefore the Hex Girls are still our WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, which then leads into Jade and Bianca getting jumped by these three after the match and getting thrown into stairs and poles, and then just Blair and the Unholy Union are standing tall by the end of this. Now, I alluded to this earlier when we started the SmackDown portion of our review. I was confused, but the potential has me excited, because that means that we're probably, because who else has issues with Blair right now? Naomi. So we're going to get all of Black Girl Magic versus the Unholy Union and Blair. And I'm kind of here for it. A variation of singles, tags, and trios matches between these six. I'm kind of here for it. But I was very confused of how we got to this point.
Yes, same. They got 8 minutes flat from bell to DQ.
Damn.
So if you don't count the entrances or they did get a commercial break, so fine. It gives Blair something to do because she was kind of floundering. We were kind of in between things. It gets Naomi and Black Girl Magic like we talked about. So now we have more of a faction, which is kind of cool. I don't know what they're going to do with that or how long they're going to let that ride. This was great. They were frenetic. They were flying all over the place. Blair has... I'm not going to say it like that. I'm not going to say it like that either, because those have negative connotations.
Yeah.
I'll say it like this. Her matches have been a little scattered since she's come up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing dangerous or reckless, but sort of, where am I going? What am I doing? How am I doing this? I hope this grounds her a little bit. And in this faction, we get her someplace to go. Kind of like a Damage Control. Kind of like other promotions that have 3 or 4 women factions that are working and doing stuff. So I am excited for her and that she has work to do.
Yep. It's, again, this will not be the last time we probably see these iterations of these 5 plus Naomi as well. So it has me excited. So now let's get into the other championship match that we had tonight. And first, I want to start off by, I would like to hold a eulogy for the title reign that was DIY. 23 days, man. 23 days. 23 mother-sucking days.
Ridiculous. And Gargano's a Cleveland guy, right?
Yeah.
So what are they doing him like this for?
It was frustrating. But in our main event of the evening, this was for the WWE Tag Team Championship match. This was the Bloodline taking on the champs of DIY, so Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Now, despite I'm gonna push my feelings to the side for like a hot minute, I will say, hot damn, this match was fire. Like, holy crap.
Great match. Great match.
It's awesome. I just don't like the decision of using DIY as the transitional champs.
Yeah.
Why give it to him for 23 days? They absolutely deserved it and did fantastic work.
You should have just let Bloodline beat Miz and Truth for it. Or was it A-Town Down Under? I don't remember which ones were.
A-Town Down Under. Yeah, that's how
I don't remember which
forget.
ones were. It's one of the fucking two. They should have just let not DIY win them. I think they're just like, oh, yeah, I guess you're here. Here's a bone.
You could have done this
You're my NXT
so many other ways. You could have had someone interfere. You could have had a DQ. You could have done anything else to keep those titles on those guys in Cleveland. And then you could have echoed it in SummerSlam tomorrow. Like, you could have done so much more instead of just give them the championship for 23 days and kind of say, bye, peace out. I think it's a shame that Gargano's career seems to have always been, you're too small, you don't look athletic, you're not like the big guys, but he's really talented and good at what he does and how he does what he does. He worked great with all the Bloodline. Like, this match is fantastic. Why do him dirty like that? That's
Jacob
tough.
Fucking Fatu.
Because Fatu,
I don't think I've seen him get knocked down once.
Well, they want that Goldberg break everything,
This is how they
destroy,
booked Umaga back in the day.
right? Like that's how they want to do this for a while, at least while he's here, so that they can get
Not
him and
break
Roman
it
in the
up.
same ring and make that explode, right? Like I get it. This is the same. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm calling this. They're going to have the same critique that Goldberg got in the late 90s when he just ran through 200 matches, right? And at some point, Superman's boring because he can't be destroyed.
Well, okay,
Right.
so let's talk about this because it's not just in WWE, and even though we are doing the WWE things, this is a trope that I kind of get worried about and I get tired of really quickly. Is when you make whether they're face or heel, you make the wrestler like impenetrable to failure in terms of just like they're always. That's why when we have main roster champions who are holding the main titles, if you book them to literally be like. The term has been coined as Super Cena, where you have them beat everybody on the roster. Then you're like, you just made they ran through the whole roster. Like, who do you legit have that could be?
There wasn't. There's very few times where they did it like they haven't. Like they did it right. Like one of the few times they ever done it right was Roman's run. But he was shown to be like this. He was supposed to be unbeatable, but he had help. So he was like everybody was super close.
I think it's too early in Fatu's run to say that we've gone that far.
Right.
I think we're all.
He looks like a monster and he wrestles like a monster.
And I think that's what we're speaking to, right? It's sort of like, please don't do this for 9 months. Like, because then why are you here? So that's tough.
Yeah, give him let him do this just like till he faces Roman and have that Roman match and have Roman beat him to show that it takes somebody like Roman to beat him, but he's beatable.
Sure, I don't hate that. Or some sort of something, yeah. Or bring back The Rock, make him fight The Rock, or do something crazy like.
No, I think The Rock's gonna join them, but
really, you think he's gonna join Evil Timeline?
Yeah,
The
Rock himself wants to be the true head of the table, and I think he's just using Solo as a proxy.
That would be interesting.
And that's going to set up Rock versus Roman for WrestleMania 41, which is what they want to do for 40.
So, I think this is going to be a long-term plan because I honestly think we're getting Roman and Solo at Bad Blood in October. And then we set up Roman captain, Solo captain, and then we get this Bloodline Civil War at War Games in November. So that's the long-term goal. But, what I'm trying to figure out is that, okay, so the Bloodline have the tag team championships. Cool. Obviously, DIY is probably going to get a rematch down the line. As much as I would love to see it be on a pay-per-view, the tag team championships never make it onto pay-per-views outside of WrestleMania, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, the tag teams I feel like have dropped in quality since the Usos dropped them.
Yeah. Honestly, the last good tag team... Go ahead.
I liked what Sammy and Kevin were doing. I didn't hate that run.
It was short, and they just did it so they can get the belts off of the Usos onto other people, so then they can split it
and get it to Judgment Day, right?
Right. And honestly, I'm going to be honest. As much as I love the feud between the Usos and KO and Sammy, I think the last good tag team feud that we had where tag team wrestling was at the spotlight was when it was Usos versus New Day. And we had that trilogy, which ultimately led to that tag team championship being defended at Hell in the Cell, where Xavier and Biggie killed it with Jimmy and Jay. Like all four men were going crazy in that ring.
Sure.
And DIY to me can be that, but 23 days as champion, RIP their title reign. They're going to get a title shot. I don't think they're going to win. But then the issue is, then who do you have down the road, beat the Bloodline for those tag championships? Because on SmackDown, all you have is DIY. For now, we have A-Town Down Under. We have RKO and, we have RKO with Randy and Kevin Owens. And we have Pretty Deadly. We have Pretty Deadly.
Who are they called? Team RKO.
I call them RK Owens. Oh.
RK Owens. Get Pretty Deadly in there. Get Pretty Deadly DIY for something like build something that direction.
Pretty Deadly is not going to even come close to the Bloodline.
There's only one team, in my opinion, that if you build them up right, that right now has the potential to be a legit threat to the bloodline, and that is Montez and Angelo.
The
Street Profits are the only ones right now I can foresee. If you build this up, this could be a really fire feud. But obviously, that's going to be after DIY loses their inevitable rematch.
So this SmackDown ended so well. We're talking about what should happen 4 weeks from now. Right.
I mean, you're not wrong. So, I mean, we've reached the end of the SmackDown.
As a go-home show, it made me interested for SummerSlam. Absolutely. Like, what's the fallout from this? But now I have more questions, and they're still not answered 48 hours later. So
we'll dive into that more. But yeah, so we've reached the end of this week's Dual Dynasty review. We covered Raw and SmackDown, a total of 5 hours of wrestling in about an hour. So I say mission accomplished, boys.
Not bad.
So this one's going to be interesting because like we're still doing empanada ratings, but we're going to be a little more loose with it. So if I'm objectively looking at Raw and SmackDown as go home shows and everything, I think collectively I would give I would give the combined week a 7 of the two, but if I was going to do separate, Raw gets a 6.5 for me and SmackDown gets a 7.5 for me.
Oh, so we're combining. So the week in WWE empanada rating
or however you want to do it. That's why we're keeping it loose. So I give both Raw and SmackDown combined a total of 5 hours of television that I watched, a 7, but Raw gets a 6.5 and SmackDown gets 7.5 individually because I thought SmackDown was stronger this week than Raw.
I didn't check in on Raw enough to rate it, so I don't think that's fair, but it sounds correct to me based on the discussion that we've had. SmackDown was definitely in that 7.5-8 place. Which is 8 is solid. I think I could give it that and be okay. I wish the women got a little bit more time. I wish some of those promos weren't as bloated as they kind of ended up getting, but I get it. It's a live event. A lot of stuff's going on. I don't agree with how DIY got used. I think that's a shame. I get it as far as creative and where we're going and what we have to do for the bloodline and blah, blah, blah. But now, spoiler alert, Fatu's hurt. What are you gonna do? A lot of people got
hurt last night. I'm just like, oops.
So now you did this thing with the title, and now whoopsie. And then, Tongaloa's got an eye patch, which is apparently...
We don't know if there's cornea damage or whatnot.
He got hurt. So folks are hurt now, and you've made all these decisions, not hastily, but now you could be stuck a little. What are you going to do?
Right. We'll talk about it more tomorrow during SummerSlam, but also shout out to what is potentially the theme song for Bash in Berlin, because I love me some Baby Metal, but that's random ADHD brain thinking. But
is Baby Metal the theme for Berlin?
We'll talk about it off camera because they played their collab with one of the local talents that we'll talk offline. It's fantastic. But Minnie, I'm going to come to you. I know you and Lucha don't review these shows separately, but if you had to include his rating for Raw, how would you rate WWE's product this week?
I'm giving Raw a 5 just because Lucha Jones a dick. And I'm not even gonna try to attempt what his rating is gonna be. I'm SmackDown solid 7.5. You guys nailed every point that I had. I wish the woman got more time. Don't like how DIY was a transitional champion, but makes sense. Hindsight, everything. There's still some things I'm like, what the fuck are we doing with this? Or is everybody going to be okay? I don't know. Looks like a lot of people hurt themselves. We'll figure it out when we get back next week. But
we'll see how that goes, and we'll talk about more in depth about the hurt people tomorrow. Because don't touch that dial. Because tomorrow the three of us here are going to be reviewing SummerSlam. The internet has been so divided with this show. Some are calling this the greatest PLE this year, and some of us are like, it's pretty good. And
I've seen the pre-show because Liv Morgan looked great.
I will say,
we'll give a precursor right now.
If the bar, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. We'll do sorry, little hint of what's coming tomorrow for me.
Yep.
If the bar is the SummerSlam from last year, this jumped this excelled fantastic. If it's compared to other PLEs
this year,
it's kind of in the middle of the pack for this year, right?
Right.
It wasn't awful. It spectacular and history making. It was right where it needed to be, which is Cleveland, kind of, bottom of the middle of the thing. I did not have anything on here that made my match of the year go rewatch this thing, which is disappointing. I thought I had.
There was one match that I might consider in my top.
Really? We'll talk about that tomorrow then. I'm excited. Yeah. There were two that I thought I'm going to be putting that on my list tomorrow, and then it happened, and I went, they don't make the list.
We'll talk more in depth about that.
And it's not because of the storytelling, it's because the two dudes beat the living fuck out of each other. That's about it. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Fair.
Yeah, we'll talk about more in depth tomorrow, which I'm super excited. But that's going to be it for the premiere episode of Dual Dynasty. So, boys, we did a good job. So we'll be back next week to cover another Raw and SmackDown. So this is going to be a fun show to do. And as we mentioned, stay tuned because tomorrow we got SummerSlam, and then Tuesday is going to be the crazy one because there are 5 of us for the AEW combined show. Tuesday
Wow.
is going to be crazy because we are reviewing Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. But it's going to be a fun collision of worlds because you have JVL, the Professor, myself, and we're going to be with El Buntador and Adolfo and Alice in this whole entire. It's about to get buck wild, you guys.
We got so much to talk about. That's
my money's on El Buntador.
We have 1 hour to talk about 3 promotions, 7 hours of wrestling. Woo.
We'll talk about it.
With Professor and JVL in the same room.
Oh,
I know, and we don't talk about anything we're supposed to ever.
No, that's why I'm there to kind of keep everyone on track. But that's for the next 2 days. But from us here at Dual Dynasty, thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you next week. And from all of us here at BC WrestlePod, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, but more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll catch you tomorrow for the SummerSlam review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and Minnie, hit our outro.
Because we wanted to.
Yes. See ya.